All right, now, for the first part of the course, we went through traditional instruction with no input from the students online whatsoever. So all we wanted them to be able to do was see their grades, and we wanted to be able to input their grades in Canvas and let them do the what-if scenarios, which we know there's a bug with, at least for the test user. Now what we want to do is flip that coin and look at it from the perspective of an instructor that wants to be able to receive materials from the students through Canvas. Be that allow them to turn in papers, turn in other materials online, or for them to be able to take quizzes, tests, surveys, etc. on Canvas. So either of those items is going to be what we cover now. You can do a mixture of the two. You do not have to do one or the other. You most certainly can have items in your gradebook that are set up only for students to turn in and work on in class, and have another set of items that students actually do and complete on Canvas itself. So you can do one or the other, or a mix of both. So in order to make sure we show you this cleanly, I do want to go in and... No, actually I think we'll just use this as it is. We'll use this exactly as it is. So we've set up, in our first course, we set up our gradebook, and we had a homework, we have class participation, we have quizzes, and we have a final exam, and we set our weights for each of those groups, and we allowed one of those groups, here is more info, quizzes, to drop the lowest 2 grades and never to drop quiz 5. So we have all of our grades done, and this is strictly for traditional only, the way this is set up. Now if we wanted to say change one of these assignments, because it would be really nice to allow a student to be able to turn in their homework through Canvas. Maybe that would be a very nice thing for them to be able to do. Maybe their homework was to draw up some math problems in Microsoft Word and print it out and bring it in. I know that's not what you guys do, but I'm making up an example. Maybe their homework was to go home and write a summary of a poem that they read, or an impact, emotional impact statement, or something along those lines. So let's go in and edit this homework. You're going to notice the pencil here. All that pencil is going to allow you to do is to edit this name, the due date, and the points, and then the type. So let's talk very briefly about the different types of assignments for online submission in Canvas. In this case, we're asking a student to turn in something to us. That's going to be an assignment. By default, assignments can have no submission, which is what they do by default, how we set them up for traditional. They can have an online submission, or they can have an external tool submission, which we don't want to bother with. So by default, they have no submission. That's why we were able to set up our gradebook very easily and very quickly for traditional, no online turn-in at all. If we want to change that, we'll cover that in just a moment. We have discussions, and that's going to create a discussion board in Canvas where the students have to go in and participate, and you'll set rules about participation, which we won't cover right now. There's going to be the quiz and or test and or survey. All those are considered quizzes. They're in the quiz category. And that's where you'll ask questions of the student. The student has to answer those, be they multiple choice, essay, short answer, fill in the blank, etc., etc., etc. And then you have not graded. Why you would put a not graded assignment out there, I know some instructors do that, and feel free to, obviously. That's not something that I can see a whole lot of use for. So if you want to come in and change the name of the assignment, you can click on the little pencil. You can also click on more options, and that takes you directly to the full edit page of that assignment. We can go in and we can change it from a no submission to an online submission, and what I prefer to do, because it's one less click, versus clicking on the pencil and then clicking on more options, I'll just click on the name of the assignment. It's the exact same thing, one less click. So I've clicked on the name of the assignment, and now we're looking at the basics of this assignment. It's worth 5 points. The students are going to submit nothing. And if you do have multiple sections within your class, there's an area down here where you can have multiple due dates based on the section. So if you have a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, you can have that assignment due on a Friday, and for the Tuesday, Thursday section, that assignment can be due on a Thursday. Or if you have multiple Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, and maybe one class is a little behind the others, you can have those. You can adjust those due dates accordingly if you're going to have items turned in on Canvas. To edit this assignment, if the students are going to see it, we obviously need to be able to give them some instruction and be able to receive items from them. So we have to edit it in order to do that. So we'll click the edit button. And here, as we covered in one of our first classes, is your main content window where you type your instructions. And this is exactly the same as it was in our main content page. So if we're building a content page in modules, you have all the same tools right here. So you can put in YouTube videos, you can tell them to watch this video and give us your feedback. You can tell them to search this thing, whatever way, anything you'd like to do, you can do and enter that information here, or you can do very simply, type in the instructions. What a lot of people do, and I know that people do this, I've seen it through a lot of our Blackboard and Canvas courses, is they have their instructions done in Microsoft Office, Microsoft Word already, and they just want to link their instructions here. And so what they can do to do that is they can say instructions, don't want to need all capital letters here, instructions can be found here, or some such wording, and then they can come over here to the files area, and they can, if the file's already there, they could find the file, or they can upload a new file if they hadn't already put the file in their course. So I'm going to choose the file, and again I'm just going to pick a file, and I'm going to click upload, and it's going to upload that file. When it finishes, it's automatically going to place a link right here, and you'll see it flash yellow at the end of my sentence where my cursor was. It's a PowerPoint. If you look in the lower left-hand corner, I don't know if you guys can see that, it says uploading. It's in the 60% range down there. Now it's in the 70s. And it'll take it just a moment to finish uploading. 90s. I've heard a lot of people comment about Canvas being quote-unquote slow, and I think a lot of them are talking about the slowness when they're uploading items, especially as instructors, or if they're downloading really large items. One of the reasons for that is Canvas is not hosted here on campus. Canvas is hosted in the cloud, and therefore it's not just crossing from one building to another over to the ATN to upload a file. It actually has to leave and go across the internet, and so that does make uploading files especially a little bit slower, well, a decent amount slower, but as we've mentioned, the cost savings and the stability of the Canvas platform are well worth that small cost in time. So maybe I have a PowerPoint that's going to give my students those instructions. I've uploaded that file. The students can get to that now. I can come down and look at other options. I can set the due date here again. Assignment group. Remember how we had those groups in our assignments? If I wanted to change that group, I can do that here. Or I can always go back to assignments and drag them around. I'm going to leave it in the homework group. And I can also look at the advanced options. If you already are grading your assignment separate, you can change it to percentage. Most of the time you'll just leave it as points, that's fine. If this is only going to be a letter grade assignment, an ABC, I don't know how that would really work, you can change it to a letter grade assignment. Or if it's just going to be a complete incomplete, basically 100 or a 0, you can let them do that. Personally, most things will probably end up strictly being points, and that's why Canvas uses the default of points. Here is where we change it in submission type as to what type of assignment it's going to be. Is it an online assignment, an on-paper assignment, or an external tool? Now, we're not going to cover external tool. That gets really complicated. So, let's take a look at online. If we're doing an online assignment, there's going to be a text entry option so that students can simply type something into you. A website URL, which is going to require them, maybe you have to tell them, go find a YouTube video of a current event. And they have to return that to you. That would be a website URL. You can allow media recordings. Maybe you ask them to record something of themselves having a reaction to an event or something along those lines. Or maybe it's a speech. But I will caveat that. I know Mary Beth Lancaster teaches speech, and she uses YouTube, and I would encourage her to continue to do so because Canvas has a limit of 500 megabytes per course, and very quickly, if they begin uploading massive things into a course of video, you would very quickly fill up that course's quota. So you probably don't want to do media recordings too much, not long ones. Short ones, a minute or two would probably be okay. If you get into 5, 10, 15-minute recordings from all of your students, you're going to use up that space very, very quickly. You'll notice that all of our training sessions are hosted on YouTube and linked in Blackboard. And that's a much more efficient way to do that. YouTube doesn't have a quota. You can allow file uploads, And this is important if you have a student that's going to turn a document into you. If you've asked them to type it up in Microsoft Word or type it up in Microsoft Excel or a PowerPoint or something along those lines, you need to allow those file uploads. Then beside that, you have some options for group assignments, and when you check this, you can define your groups, put your students into different groups, etc., etc., and then you can require peer reviews so that the students have to make comments on and basically fake grade each other's assignments. And Canvas will take care of handling the notifications and making sure students know that they're required to do that. Whether or not they do it, obviously, is up to the student. So let's do a file upload. When you check that box, you're going to see restrict upload file types. I highly recommend you do not check that. The reason being, if you ask a student to turn in a text document, many students will turn in an RTF, or a rich text format file, and if they turn in an RTF and you don't have RTF as a format type, or if they turn in a WPS because they're using, what's the default word processing program that comes with Windows? It's not... No, it's word processing. It's not Microsoft Word. Microsoft Works is WPS or WKS. I can't remember which. But if they turn in a document like that, and you didn't have WKS or WPS in as an extension, they wouldn't be able to turn in that file. It would tell them they can't turn this in. If you have DOC and the student's using Office 2007 or 2010, it's DOCX. They wouldn't be able to turn it in, or vice versa. So if they had an older version of Office, they might not be able to turn the document in. So I do not recommend restrict upload file types. That just leads to problems. If you have a lot of problems with students not turning things in properly, using the wrong formats, you might want to look at it. Or if you're being very strict with formatting, you might want to. But for the most part, I would leave that unchecked. If it's an on-paper assignment, the reason they give you that option for on-paper assignment is because maybe you're going to scan those in and upload those into Canvas and let the group work on things together, so you can still assign groups, so that you can still grade based on those groups in Canvas. So you can assign grades to the group, and it will automatically assign to the entire group. So if I click group there, it's going to bring up and ask me for a name of the groups. This is going to be project groups, and I can allow self-sign-up so students can self-select into their groups, or I can require group members to be in the same section, which would be important if I was going to do self-sign-up, or I can create groups manually, or I can split students equally into, I don't have any students in this course, so it won't work very well, but I can split students into 2 or 3 groups, etc., and then I can assign those grades to the groups, making it easy for me to turn in things on paper. So if you do have a traditional course, this is an option that we really should discuss. You can have them turn in things on paper, which means they will never submit anything through Canvas, but you will have the option to be able to assign groups. And then with groups, you can change things to assign grades to each student individually, and you can also do group categories, which we won't get too deep into, but it's a nice feature. Groups are a very nice feature within Canvas. You also have the capability to require peer reviews within Canvas, so they need to review each other's work. Again, if this is on paper, that would happen in class. It would not happen in Canvas, but you could record in Canvas who is to review whose paper, have it automatically assign those peer reviews in Canvas, and if you're going to assign a grade based on that, then you would be able to put that grade into Canvas. And you can see when are the reviews, they must come after the due date. How many reviews does the user have? Maybe you want each student to review 2 or 3 other students' papers. So you've got all those options for peer reviews. Once again, we have the options here for by section due dates. So if you have multiple sections, if you're teaching a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday, or however your different sections might be broken down, and you've requested that we combine them together for you, because remember, by default, we will not. They'll be separated just like Blackboard. If we combine them together for you, you can create multiple due dates for the same assignment. And then at the bottom, the standard notify users that this content has changed. If you are creating something new within the term that the student should know about, make sure you check that. So in this case, we want to do an online submission, and I'm going to allow file uploads, and we'll pretend like these instructions say something useful for the point of our example. And I'm going to click Update Assignment. And now you can see Here's the set of instructions. I can click on this to actually download the PowerPoint. I can click on the little preview icon to preview the PowerPoint here directly within the page. It'll take it just a moment to load it. Again, it's a fairly large PowerPoint. It should not. Now, the PowerPoint, I haven't really played with the preview on PowerPoint before, to be honest, so I'm not sure if how long PowerPoint will take to preview or how the preview will work. I probably shouldn't do it during the recording, but that's okay. It proves that we're real and we're live.
We're on Wi-Fi here, right?
My laptop is on Wi-Fi, that's correct. Everything else in here is on regular desktop, but my laptop is actually on Wi-Fi.
And that makes a difference in the speed.
It will very much make a difference in the speed, that's correct. I know there are some speed issues in this building, though, and we are working to address those. So we won't worry about the preview because that's really not what this is about. But you can click on the file just to be able to download that, and in most cases the preview will work. So we know what we've got to do. We've pretended we just looked at our instructions, and we can see now we've got the file upload is what we are to submit, and that's what we as an instructor will do. For any assignment, be it a quiz test, an assignment for turning something in, be it simply a URL, something the student needs to type into a text entry, or a file upload, anything of that nature, you can add a rubric. And we covered this again very briefly in one of our first classes, and we'll call this a quiz homework rubric, and maybe we use the same rubric for all of our homeworks, and I'll show you how we can do that. So we'll do maybe it's turned in on time, and you can add additional ratings within here by clicking in the space in between, and it will have multiple ratings, and then we can change the descriptions. I'll just call this half marks to keep it easy, and we'll change that to 2.5. Click OK, and then we'll click OK there, and that would be just the one. And if I can add additional criteria, maybe was complete. I know you instructors are cringing because it's not a good definition here, but we're for brevity, we're trying to keep things quick. And was correct. Did you get everything or nothing, if it's correct or not? And you can choose to opt freeform comments when you're assessing the students within your rubric. You can use this rubric for assignment grading, which I love. That option, and that's important. If you do want to use this rubric for actually grading the assignment, I would make sure you check that box. Very important. And I'm going to create the rubric. It has 5 points possible. Would you like to change it to have 15 points possible to match this rubric? Because we know that this assignment was supposed to have 15 points. So the assignment only has 5 points. So if I'm going to use it for grading, I probably need to change this. So I need to edit this rubric so that the total number of points adds up to 5. So I would need to go through and edit each one of these. So let's edit. Full marks for this will be 2.5, 2.5, 1, 0. Full marks here, we'll make that 1.5. And notice how it does some automatic adjustments for me, so I can just edit the top one, and this will be 1. And now I've got a total of 5. Use this rubric for grading. Update rubric. Wait a minute, how many points did this assignment have? The assignment did have 15 points? Yeah, 15 points. Let's go back to assignments real quick. Yeah, it was supposed to have 5. It was asking me if I wanted to change the value of the assignment itself. So that's important to know. It would have changed this to 15. So if I don't want to change that to 15, I need to make sure my rubric only had 5 points. So I did that. Now my rubric has a total of 5 points, and I've set that up properly. Now if I want to do in homework 2, and I can come in here, and again, here are my instructions. I'm not going to go through that process again. I just want to type something in. 5 points, and I'm going to come down to my advanced options, And this is going to be an online assignment, and it's also going to be a file upload. And I'm going to update that assignment. Now that it's an online assignment, I can add a rubric. And maybe I want to find a rubric. I don't want to type all that in again. I can click Find a Rubric. It's going to show me the homework rubric that I've already added. I simply click on that rubric, and there it is, assigned to here. So I don't have to type that in again and again and again. So if you have a rubric like that, it's very handy to be able to assign that. Now, I'm not going to go into each one of these, but you see the process now. You can go through and assign rubrics very easily and assign your instructions.
So that's saved in Canvas itself.
That rubric is in Canvas itself. Now let me show you what that looks like for a student. So let's go to Settings. I'm going to go to Student View, and we're going to be a student. And I'm going to go to Modules, and what happened? We just changed something from a traditional in assignments to an actual online assessment, but guess what? The students can't see it because all they can get to is modules. So we can create a new assignment and delete what we just did, which would be useless. We just redo all that time. Or, since I've got a syllabus module, I'm going to create a new module. I'm going to call this one Homework. I can add content to this module, and see how here's my homework 1, 2, 3. I can click homework 1, add content, homework 2, and I'm adding those things from my assignments category. Now, maybe those are the only 2 things in my class that I'm ever going to take on Canvas. I don't add anything else to modules because everything else is just a grade in the gradebook. It stays in assignments, never gets added to modules. But if I've got a new item over here, I could do add content, and I could scroll to the very bottom, new assignment, and it'll be in modules. It'll show up in assignments. If I add it here, I need to remember to go to assignments, make sure it's in the correct group, make sure that all my percentages and everything and points are added up correctly and all my rubrics are correct. So if you do it in modules, go back to assignments and make sure it's all correct. If you do in assignments, go to modules and make sure you see everything correct. Look in both locations and make sure that you have that information correct. Remember, assignments students don't see. That's for your organizational purposes. Course modules is where the students actually see. So now, since it's here in modules, I can go into Student View, click on Modules, and now I see Homework 1 and Homework 2. So let's click on Homework 1, and we can see no due date, 5 points, submitting a file. Here's my instructions. Before I even begin the assignment, here's my rubric. So I know exactly what the instructor is looking for if I have a well-written rubric. As a student, I can see exactly what the instructor is looking for. At the top, remember earlier in the previous course we gave the student a grade of 4. So that's kind of strange because we already graded it. But normally the student would see a big button up here that says Submit Assignment. So let's go to Submit Assignment. It's going to ask me for a file because this is a file upload assignment. So we'll choose a file, and again I'm just going to pick a file. Actually no, let's see if I can find a Word document really quickly, y'all, so you can see this properly. And if you needed to, you could submit more than one file. There's an add another file. Or if you're a student that needs to add a comment, I'm so sorry I turned this in. You can't turn it in late unless the instructor allows it. And with no due date, you could turn it in feasibly. You could turn it in late.
Part of it was that you had students review. Was the criteria one of it? Was the students were supposed to review each other?
I did not have that checked.
Okay.
Not in this. This is more of a basic course. That may be something we cover this summer or fall if instructors are interested in it. That could. Yep, exactly. No, they will get reviews after they turn it in. They'll turn this in. It will notify if you set it up to automatic, and it's an online submission. When they turn it in, and the due date is done, it will notify the person that is or the person or persons that are supposed to review their paper or whatever their submission is, that the submission is ready for review. I just uploaded a Word document.
Okay, well then the comment could have been, I couldn't find what I was looking for, but this is what I found.
Exactly. It could be, and I'll repeat that, it could be, I couldn't find exactly what you requested, but here's what I was able to find. So those comments could be any number of things that you might need information on. So as a student, I can see information here that I have submitted this April 24th at 2:37 p.m. I can download a copy of what I submitted. I can resubmit it, and I can continue to resubmit as often as I want to until the due date is done. If there's no due date, I can resubmit in perpetuity. So it's important as an instructor, if you're going to have online submissions, to set a due date and to make sure that that due date is set and you do not grade until after that due date. Because if a student may turn in early, 2 or 3 days early, and then figure out at 10:30 at night, if your deadline is at midnight, I forgot something and I need to go, I forgot a dot period, whatever in my MLA, I got it, and then make adjustments and return it in. And if you graded it before that, you can either regrade it, which is you can do that certainly as an instructor, or you can wait until after the deadline. So I don't know how many students will figure that out right before the deadline. But you'll be notified as an instructor if they have resubmitted as well, so you'll be able to go back in and regrade. So we've got this submitted. Let's leave student view. Now go back as the instructor and go to the home page for the test course. And now we can see that one item needs grading, and that means we just had somebody turn something in. Even though we already gave it a grade, we had a submittal. So we can click on that, or we can go over to grades and go there, or we can go to assignments, we can go to modules and go there. However you want to get there, there's multiple ways to get to this location. This is the Speedgrader. That's the easiest way to get into the Speedgrader. When something needs assignments, it's under your to-do. You click here, you go directly to the Speedgrader. Let me show you how to get to it other ways. The Speedgrader. Let's go to assignments and homework 1. And when you go to assignments and homework 1, you're going to be back on this edit page that we saw before. Now I can click on Speedgrader up here. You see that's 3 clicks. Where if I'm on my main course homepage and I see needs grading on the right, it's 1. So it's nice, it's very nice, that one single click to get to the Speedgrader. Now the Speedgrader tool is a very neat tool that only works on certain kinds of the markup and the commenting features that are fancy and neat only work on, I think, PDF and Microsoft Office documents. So that won't work on rich text format or other type of documents, but you'll be able to view them and make comments over here on the right-hand side, but you won't be able to do markup on the document itself for students to be able to see. So while I'm here, I can preview the document, I can look at this, and if I want to make specific comments on the document, I can click the comment item up top, and I know which student I'm on. I can see that at the very top. And I've got multiple kinds of comments. I've got a point, area, and text comment. A point comment literally looks at this. Maybe this doesn't need to be, don't use ampersands. An area comment is not wanting to draw correctly for some reason. There it goes. Use all caps. And then I've got a text comment where I actually highlight the text itself. Check spelling. So I can do multiple comments. Or Microsoft Office documents. So Word, PowerPoint, Excel can all, I know Word and PowerPoint can. I believe Excel can be marked up. I'm not positive. So those are your 3 different types of comments that actually show up in the document itself. Now keep in mind the original document has not been edited. This is an overlay on top of the document. So if you download the document, which you can do in the upper right hand corner, that will be the original document without any markups. This markup can only be seen from within Canvas. You can also draw, and you can pick different colors. You can highlight, which is basically your text tool without the comment. You can type text anywhere on the document whatsoever. You can also do a strikeout. Maybe you wanted them to change that word, and it gives you a reason. So if you're going to strike it out, say leave this out. I can make this larger if it's too small for me to see, so I can much more easily see the text. And you can see there's leave this out. I took out non-existent. And I can download an annotated PDF, which will include my comments and my markups, or I can download the file, which is a document, by using the arrow there. Or I can download the original file over here as well. If I want to grade with the rubric, I can click on View Rubric, and I just click on the items of the markup that I want to grade. Was it turned in on time? Yes. Was it complete? Yes. Was it correct? No. Save. There's my rubric, 4 out of 5 points. It just happens to be the same grade I did before. Same thing. And I'm done, it's graded. I'm ready to move to the next student. I click the arrow, I move to the next student. No going back to the grade book, find the next student, scroll which one was on next time, find the correct column, etc. No, just click one arrow, you move to the next student, it opens up that student's document, and you grade. And you've got all your comment markup features for each student, etc., etc. Very, very simple. If you go in through it to the Speedgrader from here, inside the edit, it opens the Speedgrader up in a new tab. You see that? I'm in a new tab over here. So to exit the Speedgrader, I will close the tab. Otherwise, I would need to click on Course Home. Or if I wanted to go back to the Gradebook directly, I can click on Gradebook and it'll take me back to the course Gradebook. So that's how I was able to grade that assignment. Now let's see what that looks like, that graded assignment looks like for the student. We'll go back to Student View. The grade didn't change, so I don't see anything specific, but I can tell that I have a rubric here, so I can see my evaluation, I can see the rubric, I can see if there are multiple instructors in the course, I will see which instructor actually gave me that grade. And if I click on the name of it, I can click on, now this is important for your students, and again, in our orientation for the students, we'll show this. If you click here, you're going to download the document, the original. If you click here, you will preview with all the markups. And you can, at that point then, download with the markups or the original. So the student can then see all the nice little lines I drew in red for them, and all the other markups, and if they scroll to the right, they'll be able to see all of the comments that I did for them as well. And they can see the rubric here just as well. And they can see in green exactly which items I picked. And I had that option to do additional freeform comments. I could have comments in here that I had typed in additional information to the student. Or if I didn't want to do that, I could have left the student a comment. There was an area down here when I was in the Speedgrader to leave the student a comment, and that would show up right here. As a student, I can leave this, "Thanks for the great grade," and save that comment for the student, for the instructor to be able to see. So the student gets to see all that hard work we did when we graded that assignment. So that's how we change an assignment from a from a non-submitted to a submitted graded assignment, make sure it's added to modules. And that's how the assignments work and how you use Speedgrader. So now let's talk about quizzes and changing a non-submitted quiz that you would normally get in class over to a quiz, or if you were creating a new item, how you would make that into a graded quiz. So by default, if you are in modules and you're creating it, you would select type of quiz, and then you would select new quiz. Here, since we already have an assignment, we would change it. We would click the pencil, and then we would change it from type of assignment to type of quiz. But it's very important you have to change that from an assignment to a quiz if you want it to be a quiz, a test, or a survey. So when we update that, now we can click on quiz 1, and it will tell you this quiz is unpublished. If I publish now, going to have to republish after I put questions in, etc., etc. What you'll notice here, this is a graded quiz, and we can change that. And let's go into edit mode. In a quiz, you can have instructions here. So you type your instructions there. You can have a practice quiz. You can have a graded quiz, a graded survey, or an ungraded survey. Here's our groups again that come from our assignments. You can shuffle the answers. If you shuffle answers, it's very important that you remember shuffling answers does not work well if you have options, especially in multiple choice, such as all of the above or none of the above, because they're going to move the answers around. So A may be all of the above, because D will not be always D. It will move around. So don't use all of the above. Say all of these or none of these, because they won't be in the same order. And I do recommend using shuffle answers if you can. I do like the time minute, so I'm going to put in a time minute of 60 minutes. You can set that to whatever you'd like to be. It does enforce that time limit, so it will submit the quiz or test at the end of that time limit. You can allow multiple attempts. There's no need to unless you're doing it for a specific reason in your course. You can allow individual students extra attempts very, very easily. So if a student has a problem, if there's a power outage while they're taking a test or something like that, or they're disconnected, and they're not able to, if they are able to get back into Canvas within the time limit, they can continue working in the quiz. No problem. They don't even have to start over. They pick up right where they left off. Canvas saves all their answers. If it's past that time limit, they'll need to start over. And you can easily, and I'll show you how after we finish this, you can easily go back in and give them, that one individual student, an extra attempt. I know in Blackboard, a lot of instructors would add extra assignments and all kinds of stuff, and that meant their gradebook was not accurate because they couldn't use the Blackboard gradebook to actually calculate grades, because they might have four or five different extra grades in there in case a student had a problem. Then they could go in and take this other. So here, it's very easy for the instructor to go in and allow an extra attempt. You can let students see their quiz responses. Personally, I'm not a big fan of that, but it depends. If it's a practice quiz, that can be really, really helpful. However, if it's not practice, if it's for real, then if you're not doing proctored quizzes or tests, they just print the thing out, or they use their phone to take a picture of it and they pass the answers around. They pass it around. What they got wrong, and it takes 2 or 3 of them, they've got that. Now, they can also show which answers were correct. And then you really have a problem if you have a real graded quiz, and you're letting them see their responses and showing them which ones are correct. They will sell that, almost guaranteed, and make money. So I don't like letting them see that for real quizzes. Practice quizzes is great, but for real, no. You can restrict the quiz. You can require an access code, which would be a password. That's up to you as an instructor if you'd like to do that. I don't see much need to do that, and you will probably not work with the filter IP addresses. If you do, you'll need to contact the IT department in order to do that. You can require Respondus lockdown browser if you so choose. The Respondus lockdown browser will keep the student from doing anything else with their PC other than taking the test. It will shut down all chat programs, etc., etc. Not helpful at all if it's not proctored, because the student's got their cell phone sitting right there with them, or they've got somebody else sitting next to them with the book, or they've got the book out on the table, etc., etc. It's not a useful item if the test is not a proctored test. So we won't restrict anything here. I do love show one question at a time, especially if you lock questions after answering, because that does make it a little more difficult for the students to cheat, because they'll see question number 1, question number 2, question number 3. Does it make it impossible? Not by any stretch of the imagination, but they're going to have to plan to do it, not wait till the end when they get to see all the answers, because they can't go back. And if they don't get to see what answers are right, they have to have taken a picture of it while they were doing it, and then they don't know what was right, what wasn't right. So I personally like show one question at a time and lock questions after answering. And as before, we've got our sections due date and notify users that the quiz has changed if we choose to do that. We still haven't published. Again, we don't want to publish until we're done making changes. If we do make changes after we've published, we have to republish to get those changes out to students. So please remember that. That's going to be one of our number 1 issues, is you have to republish. And same thing with Blackboard. You had to republish after you made changes. So now let's go to the questions tab here. And one of the things you look at here is you say, well, new question group, or find questions. Okay, well, how do I do random questions? Maybe I got a question bank from my textbook, and I want to import that question bank, something along those lines. You don't do that here. So let's show you where you manage your question banks and then how to set things up to be random properly. We're not going to put those questions in here yet. We're going to go back to quizzes, or you can go to quizzes over here at the left, and you have a manage question banks button. Remember, we went to assignments for the assignment stuff. Now this is a quiz. It's different, so we go to quizzes. We go to manage question banks, and we can add a question bank, and we'll just call this bank 1. You would want to give it a name that made sense for you. And then I hit enter key, and then I can click on that bank, and I can add a question, move multiple questions, new question bank. There's all different types of ways to be able to import those questions. If you're actually going to import from your textbook, that would be under settings, import course content, import quizzes, and then you would choose your file, and then you would choose that to pull that information back in, and you would choose to a new question bank where you wanted to put those questions, so you would import them here. In this case, we're just going to type a few questions in. So we're going to go back into our manage question banks, go into bank 1, and let's add a question. The piece here called question is not a number. Do not think of that as a number. The points don't matter. This is a default number of points. It's changed whenever you actually pull a question into the quiz itself. This is think of this as a title to the question. So typically I'll just leave it as question or statement, or depending on what it is. You have multiple types, you have multiple choice, makes perfect sense. True, false, fill in the blank, fill in the multiple blanks, multiple answers, drop down, matching, numerical answer, formula, essay, or text. For the sake of brevity, I won't get into all the different types here. Feel free to take a look at the, what is it called? Hang on one second. The Canvas training for instructors, and there are Canvas videos that cover each of those items in detail. And you can also call the help desk if you have specific questions about one of those. And there are examples. Real quickly, fill in the multiple blanks. It will tell you roses are blank and violets are blank, and it tells you to use square brackets. So if I take this example, I paste it down here. Now it gives me show possible answers for, and this bracket, color 1 bracket, I can pick possible answers for that. And then I can pick color 2, and it'll be a different set of possible answers for that. So that's the way you would do. And again, all that information is in the instructor course for Canvas. So we're going to go back to a basic multiple choice. I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. Multiple choice. And I'm going to call this A. Call this one B. And if you want to change which one is correct, remember we're shuffling answers, so it doesn't matter what order they're in. You can when you're typing this in, always leave the first one correct to make it easy on yourself. But if you wanted to, if you realized you put one in the wrong order, you can click the arrow, and it changes which one is the correct answer. You have an option to enter comments to the student if they choose this item. So, I don't know what you would say to them. You instructors are much more constructive with your criticism than I might be. Or if they give the correct answer, you may want to give them some kudos. If they choose this specific answer. Overall, for the question, you can give them comments if they give a correct answer, comments if they give a wrong answer, or general comments just for the question in general. You can add additional answers. So if you want more than just A and B, you can have A, B, C, D, E, F, however many you'd like, or you can delete those so you have a smaller number. And again, points don't really matter. So we'll update question. We've got one multiple choice question. I'm going to add another question, and I'll make this one a true false. Just call this TF, and false will be the correct answer. And I'm just going to fly through some of these, add a question. We'll do, let's do fill in the blank. Maybe my spelling's correct. I'm not in a good place today. So this is fill in the blank, and a possible answer will be And of course, neither of those are correct. But this is a fill in the blank, so we'll just wait them. Now, these are both correct answers. Please note, fill in the blank. See how both of these are green? So they can have multiple answers here. And we can give them comments if they want to have multiple. So they will fill in the blank. All the student will see is a blank. But if they enter in either of those words, either of those phrases, then they will get that correct. All they'll see is blank ruled Rome after Julius Caesar, and they'll have to fill in the blank. And then we'll do matching. I'm just going to put W question mark, and because we're not going to worry too much about what it is. Matching left side A, B. Matching right side lowercase a, lowercase b, so they match up. You're just going to match uppercase to lowercase. And then these are items that will appear in the drop-down. So they'll see A, and then across from A, they're going to see a drop-down list. And they'll have lowercase a and lowercase b, and then whatever other items you put in here. So if I put in C, D, E, F, G, they'll see all those items in the drop-down. So I've just gotten a few items here. We don't have very many. We've gotten just a few questions in the bank, and we're not going to do a whole lot more with it. We'll just leave it at that. So now we've got our questions in our question bank. Either we've imported them from our textbook, or we've typed those questions in ourselves. We can go back to quizzes and go back to our quiz that we have created, and we can go edit that quiz, and now we can import questions. So we can go, first we have to put the questions in a question group if we want them randomized. We can just create questions right here, and they'll be part of this quiz and this quiz only. That's one of the advantages to put them in the question bank. We can use them, if we wanted to pull those questions over for the final, we could use the questions over for the final as well. If we do find questions here, we can find those questions out of the bank, put them into this quiz, but they will not be randomized. If we want them randomized, we need to put them in question groups. And one of the other advantages of question groups is you can have multiple groups on a test. So maybe you have the first part of the test you want to cover topic A, and you have 15 questions on topic A, but you want those questions to be randomized. And so you can randomize the first 15, so it's all just topic A, but they're randomized. And then the second group comes next, and it's all topic B, and they're all randomized, but they're still in groups by topic. So it's not too confusing for the student. They're not getting topic A, topic B, topic C, topic C, topic C, topic B, topic A. They're in groups by topic, but they're still randomized within the group. So we're going to create a new group, and since I said topic A, we're going to call it topic A. And I'm going to pick, I don't remember how many questions I did. And here's where you set the number of points per question. So I don't remember how much this quiz was worth, 20 points? So 2 points per question, if there were 5 questions. Now, you did see an option here to link to a question bank. That will pull the questions in from the question bank when the student goes to take the test, but will not randomize. So don't link to a question bank. From here, what you want to do is find questions. Not in the group, just down here at the bottom. So go ahead and add as many groups as you want, and then find questions. And then we want to select all the questions from bank 1. There are only 4 questions. Which group do we want to add them to? Topic A. Add questions. And it's worth 10 points. I don't know if it will automatically do that. Let's see. Since there aren't 5 questions, I only have 4. I haven't tried that one. So now we've got, it's only worth 8 points. Here's your other option. I know that I've heard some instructors say, well, I want to have everything randomized, but I know I need a question at the very end, separate. You can do a new question. You can go in your bank, create a question bank, and then do a new question group and import those questions. Or if you know that it's going to be the same question, it's like on your final for maybe your SLOs, you can just do a new question, and it'll be at the very last because it's not part of a question group. It's not going to be randomized. So it will come very last. And we'll just say, last question, A, B, C, D, and it's worth 2 points. Update question. And so it's worth 2 points. Now my entire exam is save, worth 10 points. No, that's wrong, because I need my questions to be worth, needs to be worth 20 points. I should have edited it. So now I've done, 4 questions because there were only 4 there. 4 points per question. I'll update that group. That's 16 points. This question needs to be worth 4 points to bring me up to 20 points. So 4 points, 16 points gives me a total of 20 points. Save. Now I can publish my quiz. And I can take the quiz as an instructor, or I can go in a student view. It really amounts to the same thing. Note here, it does tell me that I will not be able to backtrack. I will not be able to view the previous questions. True or false. Note here is my time on the right-hand side. It tells me when I'm going to run out of time, at what time. It tells me how many questions I have left, which ones I've answered, which ones I don't. You see, as soon as I click it, it says it's saved. I click next. There was a bug, and a lot of instructors will have noticed this. If you did this one question at a time, it was a little slow in changing between questions in Canvas. That was fixed a few weeks ago, so that bug is gone. So now we can see, we have to pick and see there are all those extra options we put in there. So I'm going to get one of these wrong, one of these right. I'm going to put in the wrong answer here. And this is the last question. Notice I said last question here. It stayed in the correct order. So it did use the very last question that we set at the very bottom as last. Now I've got to submit my quiz. And I can see that I have a time of 1 minute. That's how long it took me to take. 6 out of 20. 6 out of 20. Now, it knows, since I'm an instructor, I can still see this information. This was so far off of the correct answer, they didn't know it was wrong, so the instructor didn't even have to grade the fill in the blank. Or the short, if you had an answer that was very close, the instructor would be able to go in and make a change on that. And it would be ungraded. It would tell a student that it was ungraded up here, that was partially graded, and awaiting instructor to finish grading. But again, I'm an instructor, that's why I can see these options. Whenever I talked about how easy it was to be able to have and give a student an extra attempt, you can click on Moderate this quiz. Once you have published the quiz, Moderate this quiz becomes available to you. And you can click the Edit little pencil item. And this is where I don't like their labeling here. Extra attempts. Everyone gets one already. My first thought was, they already get one extra attempt? What? No. And what they mean is that everyone gets one attempt already. So if you want to give them an extra attempt, you will hit 1. And if you need to give them extra time, you can simply select that as well. Now, that can be done, the extra time on every attempt can be done prior to them taking the quiz. So if they are an ADA student and they need an extra 30 minutes, come in here, tell it to give them an extra 30 minutes. So I can give myself an extra attempt if I so choose. In the gradebook, the grade is already done, so it will already appear. There is my, which quiz was it I took? Quiz 1, 10 out of 20. If I click on that, it will show me details. The student doesn't have a submission for this assignment. And we can go back to there's the quiz there. Go back to assignments. And click on more options. I just want to go in here and have a look and see. quizzes. There's a graded quiz. We can see all the information in here as well. There's my moderate. There's my Speedgrader again. Oh, note that when I took it as an instructor, not as a test student. So that's why that 6 does not show up in the gradebook. That's what was throwing me for a loop just then. So that's how you set up quizzes. And make sure you have random answers and random questions. And use the moderate this quiz to give extensions to students as they need. And again, remember, if you are changing from an assignment or a quiz, make sure that you push that information over into modules. So if we want the student to be able to see quizzes here, I would probably add a module called quizzes. And I would add content and add a quiz. The quiz already exists. We don't need to add a new quiz. We select the quiz. I like my indent too. And now the students can get to it. So remember, double check modules against assignments and quizzes if you're starting to publish things for students to use. If you're not, they don't need to be in modules. And that is that. Any questions? It's a lot of information, especially when you move away from the traditional. So I appreciate you sitting through with me.